An outdoor banner for Global Disability Summit. People with and without wheelchairs and white canes stroll past. In a packed room, people from a range of ethnicities, nationalities, and genders converse. A white woman with a bionic arm at a prosthetics display, filming speakers at the Inclusive Education Hub. Presentation in the exhibition hall. Presenters and audience wear translation headphones. Someone creates a raised letter label, then applies it to Karina Sturm's name badge. Karina is white and wears a purple Props No More t-shirt. Guests photograph presenters with their iPhones. Press snaps pictures of the audience numbering in the thousands packing a massive hall. Presenters with and without apparent disabilities. Projections of sign language interpreters and live captions on a screen. A black woman with a glamorous forearm crutch smiles for the camera. A world map with pins across the globe and lines converging in Berlin. Text GADIM at the Global Disability Summit 2025. Karina films Alan Herbert, journalist, a black man with albinism. He has a full pale beard and holds a pen in his left hand.
Our media does not look at disability issues as to be important, to be reported first in the news items. And it will always be put last in the news bulletin. That is number one. So that shows that the editor-in-chief thinks that this story is not important enough to bring it a little bit further into the running order of a news bulletin. And funny thing, you and everybody who is watching this video knows, most people only watch the first 3 stories in a news bulletin. And once that is done, they have switched off. So basically you're saying that these stories of persons with disabilities and what is really happening around the disability community is never really going to be seen or known. So that is problem number one. I would say issue number 2 is more around how we look at journalism, because there is this viral aspect to journalism. And if your story is not able to go viral, then nobody's really going to care about it. And also the numbers aspect, how many people are going to be able to watch this particular news item or this news story. And I think if we're able to change those perspectives and those narratives, then we should be able to change how disability is represented in the mainstream media.
Stana Schenk from inclusion.org, a white woman with long brown hair. She addresses the camera from inside the packed exhibition hall.
So the question, who is representing the topics linked to disability, is very vivid to me personally, because I'm a mother of a young adult who lives with Down syndrome, and I know so much about obstacles and exclusion in a society. Just have a look at the panels of conferences or summits, who is there and who is speaking and who has got the power to occupy these spaces. And I would like really in the future to advocate more for people to step in the front line and speak up for themselves.
Soufiane El Amrani from Inclusion Europe, a Belgian man with a salt and pepper beard. He sits outside in a manual wheelchair with his legs crossed at the ankles.
So, self-advocate means being able to stand up for your own rights and making sure your voice is heard, because governments do not listen to people with intellectual disabilities when it comes to important things like the right to vote, the right to participation. I'm a self-advocate with intellectual disabilities, and what it means for me is fighting to make sure that my voice is heard and that I can take part in political participation and have my own house and keys.
Dom Kelly from New Disabled South, a white man with dark hair and beard and arm and chest tattoos. He stands with forearm crutches as Karina stands by the video camera filming him.
First, I wanted to be able to have a way to bring a disability justice lens to other movement spaces. We actually have 1/3 of all disabled people in the U.S. who live in the South. The majority of those folks are Black and brown and queer, and we face the disproportionate impacts of policy choices, of systemic oppression, systemic ableism, systemic racism, and the intersection of those systems of oppression. So that looks like long waiting lists of people who deserve care in their own homes, but are being forced into institutions while they wait to receive some kind of waiver or funding to get care in their own homes. That is really high incarceration rates of disabled people, mainly Black disabled people, in state and federal prisons, in for-profit prisons. That is a lack of access to health care. We see hospitals closing. We see lack of public transportation infrastructure that is accessible, lack of housing that's accessible. So a lot of the issues we see in the US broadly, they are even more of an issue in the South, where our state governments, our local governments just don't prioritize disabled people and access.
Sophia Minieri of Women Enabled International, a white woman with blonde hair pulled back. She stands in front of the Women Enabled International table in the exhibition hall.
We work to advance the rights of women and gender diverse people with disabilities, particularly their right to sexual and reproductive health and rights, and their right to be free from gender-based violence. Across the globe, women and gender diverse people with disabilities face higher rates of gender-based violence, particularly in the context of humanitarian emergencies and climate change. They also faced heightened barriers to access sexual and reproductive health and rights and to fully exercise their reproductive autonomy. So because of that, and because that's mandated by the Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, they have to be meaningfully included in all decision-making processes concerning their rights. And for that, they need, their organizations, Feminists with Disabilities, need core, long-term, flexible funding to sustain this vital work. And that, in this particular context, with funding cuts and with raising authoritarianism, that work and that support is more vital than ever.
She clasps her hands and smiles. Patricia Almeida from GADIM, a Latina with dark wavy hair. She stands in a large hall at the summit where people sit together at round tables.
I started GADIM, the Global Alliance for Disability in Media and Entertainment, because I saw that society should know more about people with disabilities. And seeing them in everyday life, in the press, in soap operas, in film, it would be a great way of fighting ableism. And the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities has an article, Article 8, about raising awareness, and nobody knew about it. So GADIM was there to promote Article 8 and to get countries to include more people with disabilities in media.
Anna Laura Mueller, journalist, a white woman with long brown hair standing near tables where summit attendees gather.
I report a lot about disability rights, about inclusive workspaces, and I think there's not enough reporting about this topic. As a journalist without a disability, I think it's important that I keep up the talk about this topic in the newsroom, as long as there are no colleagues with disabilities there. And I think it needs allyship between disabled and non-disabled journalists. And I just hope in the future there will be more disabled journalists as my colleagues right beside me.
Leonard Grobian, screenwriter, director, and actor, is a white man of short stature with curly blonde hair. He sits outside in a manual wheelchair.
We have not arrived in the inclusive world we hope to live in the future, in this close future. With a disability on top, I think the trust issue, that's a topic we have to talk about, because I'm not less reliable because of my disability. Not even really physically, or I don't get sick more often than anybody else. So I'm as reliable as anybody else with my experience and my talent. And we have to focus on talent, and we have to focus on the quality of the product, not about physical disadvantages. It's still something really special when a production chooses to portray a person with disability as a main character or a side character, whatever. It's still a special feature for that production, so it's not normal at all still, and I think we should strive for that.
Karina, summit visitor with borderline personality disorder, is white and has wavy short brown hair. She stands in the exhibition hall.
There are so many great different personalities on this world, and it has nothing to do on like how they look or how they talk or which country they're from or whatsoever. You have to differentiate between the person itself and what like the stigmas are, like what the people are seeing in the person. It's a very, very different thing. Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yahia Kandil, an Arab athlete with Down syndrome, and a woman look at text on an iPad. He has dark brown hair and glasses, and he reads from the iPad.
I have been invited to schools, universities, and public events to share my story and discuss the importance of accepting and supporting individuals with disabilities, highlighted to submitters that we all have different abilities, not disabilities. Through events like this, I believe that by sharing our stories, we can break down barriers, build more inclusive society. Other scholars have points that inclusion makes us stronger.
Fade to black. Text, let's unite to change the narrative about disability in the media. Find out more at propsnomore.org, words in white and bright purple letters. Animated logo, a megaphone blasting the words "Props No More, Disabled Creators Tearing Down Barriers."